It's time to make Britain great again. Enough talking and intellectual head-scratching. We know it can be done. Just look at what's going on in America. President Trump has got more done in 5 days than Labour has in 6 months.
Border immediately halted all entry of illegal border crossers, of which there were many, and began promptly returning the illegal trespassers back to the place from which they came.
Look at that. A sight to behold. Around 2,000 illegal migrant criminals have already been booted out of America on military planes, and there's plenty more coming too. Meanwhile, President Trump has totally torn up the net zero scam.
I terminated the ridiculous and incredibly wasteful Green New Deal. I call it the Green New Scam. Withdrew from the one-sided Paris Climate Accord.
Petrol and diesel cars back on the menu in America. Trump's also getting rid of wind turbines and solar farms.
The wind blows and then it doesn't blow and the things cost a fortune. They're made in China and they kill the birds and they're horrible. We don't want windmills in this country. We're putting an order out. I've already sort of done it. We don't want windmills.
Meanwhile, this week over here, Ed Miliband is trashing the countryside by allowing Ecotricity to build a major solar farm in Lincolnshire. Ecotricity, by the way, owned by millionaire Labour donor and eco-zealot Dale Vince. Interesting, that one. Back in America, though, Trump's also told tens of thousands of work-from-home government employees to get back in the office or find a new job.
Sir, the next item, as you announced in your speech, is a requirement that federal workers return to full-time in-person work immediately.
Could you imagine that here? Because right now, swathes of our own woke-riddled civil service are threatening to strike because they've been asked to work in the office for just 2 days a week. Trump just deals with it. No pussyfooting around. Get to work or get lost. The Chancellor today said Britain needs a dose of Trump's positivity and said it was time we learned something from the US President. No, really? Goodness me, who'd have thought? Putting Britain first. What a great idea from Rachel Reeves. Very original. This was Donald Trump's bullish first speech as president.
During every single day of the Trump administration, I will very simply put America first.
And now let me remind you of Sir Keir Starmer's first ever speech as Prime Minister from the Rose Garden in Downing Street.
But I have to be honest with you. Things are worse than we ever imagined. Things will get worse before they get better. I'll have to turn to the country and make big asks of you as well, to accept short-term pain for long-term good.
What a stark contrast. Donald Trump already has migrants on planes. Sir Keir Starmer's still blathering on about smashing gangs, yet the boats keep coming, of course. And though Labour have pledged to work with foreign countries to increase security and tackle the gangs and so on, blah, 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 a number of claimants have been rejected. So Rachel Reeves can talk all she wants about copying Trump and needing positivity. The real results come from when you actually stop the yapping and just get on with it. Want the boats to stop? Call a national emergency and turn them back. Get the Navy in the Channel. Want to spark economic growth like never before? Run riot in the North Sea and stop net zero once and for all. Frack, drill, unleash the shale gas liquid gold beneath our feet. Want to free up prison spaces? Send the 10,000 foreign criminals languishing in our jails home immediately. And that includes Pakistani rape gangs who should be stripped of their citizenship. I don't care what the ECHR says. Leave the ECHR and get them out. President Trump has signed hundreds of executive orders this week to make America great again. But what he's achieved most in just 5 days is providing absolute proof that the problems plaguing the Western world, Britain included, are political choices made by our leaders, not some inevitable outcome that we must all suffer in lockstep. We're locked in a battle for the future of this country, its very soul and fabric of being. So let's amp up the positivity, use America as a blueprint for change, and make Britain great again. Let's get the thoughts of my panel now. Joining me this evening is the journalist and communications advisor, Linda Jubilee, former Labour Special Advisor, Paul Richards, and political commentator, Paula London. Welcome along, you three. Thank you for joining me. Paul, let's start with you. Do I need to plonk a MAGA hat on your head and tell your Labour cronies to get some oomph up their backsides?
I think the big thing that Trump is showing is there's a big difference between the performative, theatrical stating of things and actually doing stuff. And the hard yards of reform are much harder than making big speeches, as I think America will discover. And I think the other issue is that, you guys are putting a lot of faith in this bloke. He hasn't got a great track record. He's already been in government once, and the first thing he's going to do is slap tariffs on the UK.
Well, good for America.
Unless we're careful.
Good for America.
Which will cost British jobs and businesses.
Paul,
That's not very patriotic, is it?
Look what he's done this week. Look what he's done this week. He's scrapped net zero. He's made it very clear the trans agenda is off the agenda. There's only two genders. He's pardoned people he said he'd pardon. He's put through executive orders he said he'd put through. He's sticking to his word and he's getting things done. Most importantly, he's deported already 2,000 illegal criminals. It's not even been a week.
But Labour is also sending back people who shouldn't be here. And by the way, if we did that thing with prisoners that you mentioned, of course, all the Brits and foreign prisoners would all be coming back here. They wouldn't release prison places. It would be a disaster. Putting the Navy in the Channel, well, the Navy will tell you that they can't police the Channel. You can't stop the boats once they're on the waters. You have to stop them before they get anywhere near the waters.
Why can't they? Sorry, why can't they?
Well, because the Channel is quite a big place, that's why. And
it's
they
the Royal
will
Navy.
Always get through. I love the Royal Navy as much as anyone, but they can't be put in that role to stop boats.
Linda, what's your thoughts? Donald Trump is making it look easy.
I think, there's making it look easy and there's making it easy, which are two different things, and Paul has given a nod to that. But the one thing he has done is he gets things done. Now, it doesn't matter really at the moment exactly what they are, but what we are suffering from in this country is not getting things done. That's the comparison. If you look at the faith we've lost in some of our institutions, particularly lately, and there have been inquiries, there have been policies in place, but we haven't followed them. We simply haven't got things over the line, and we've reaped the disastrous consequences of that this week with the Southport Crown Court case, where we saw terrible, heinous crimes simply because we didn't get stuff done.
Yeah,
literally nothing was happening.
But look, I don't want to, Paul of London, I don't want to sit here and put the country down, because this is a great country. I know lots of people are going to the Middle East and Dubai. I just got back from Dubai. It's a nice place. The sun shines. That's great. Good for a tan. But let me tell you, it's completely soulless. It's got nothing on Britain. So I think there's lots of potential in this country. We need to unlock not just the shale gas underneath our feet, but the entire potential of the country. And we can look to America for inspiration.
It's very hard to see the potential when we have Keir Starmer as a leader. And Donald Trump, not only is he a great orator, he's a doer. He doesn't just talk. And also, obviously, he has experience. He was the president before, and during his time, there was no wars. There were wars when other presidents were in the seat, as it were. And I think it's great that people are worried about the tariffs rising, because hopefully that will knock some sense into Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer. At the end of the day, we need America. America doesn't need us. So I'm glad that Keir will have to do, not as he's told, but will have to act rationally for once, because he's not acting rationally. He's acting in an erratic way, similar to a sociopath, in my mind.
We're going to have to do a deal with America, aren't we? We are going to have to get a trade deal in place. And we also have to get a trade deal in place with Europe and Australia and New Zealand. We're going to have to trade with the world.
Yeah.
But if he's slapping tariffs on us, that is going to make it harder, not easier, for us to do that.
Well, look,
that's Rachel's fault.
Where's the free trade?
I interviewed Donald Trump's son, Eric, a few months ago. He said, my father loves Britain. His mother is Scottish. He's got a very close relationship with Britain.
Sure.
And he said, there won't be tariffs as long as you play nice.
Yeah.
If you're lot, Paul, stop yapping off about Trump and going to campaign for Kamala Harris and stop slagging off the United States and Donald Trump.
Very good point.
You'll be received
People have gone
equally.
and supported candidates in other countries for decades. Republicans came here to support the.
They haven't had the foreign secretary calling him a neo-Nazi-loving sociopath.
That is quite normal. But I think the bigger point is that if we want a free trading world, then you can't have this sort of America first. Putting the barriers up.
Well, he is the leader of the first world.
Yeah, he can do that.
Well, he can, but
Paul,
it will damage us. It will damage us.
Just moving on slightly, can I ask you about the mood and the lack of optimism from Downing Street? Rachel Reeves now has taken 6 months to realise that maybe she needs to change gears. Do you agree they've made a mistake thus far, being so doomy and gloom?
Mistake's going a little far, but I do think there was a lot of doom and gloom. And I think the problem is they opened the books, they saw the true state of things, and they were imbued by this sense of it being grim. But we do need a bit of a spring in our step. And look at Obama when he came in on a policy of hope. and similarly...
even Tony Blair.
Tony Blair was my next point, exactly that, so you need a bit of optimism.
I think, Paul, to be honest, and I know that you were a Labour advisor, the situation we've got here is a bit chaotic. It's chaotic in its actuality of how these policies are rolled out. And the communications of what the Labour Party are doing are also chaotic. So we're all very, very muddled about what's going on.
Well, I think that's a fair point, but I do think...
That's from you.
Yeah, that is a fair point, but I do think they're getting a grip on it now, and they are rolling out things that make sense to people. But
Such as?
Well, all the policies that we've had.
Name me a policy that makes sense
for the country. We've just renationalised the railway. We're taking all of those profiteering railway companies out.
Yeah, but we haven't seen the results.
It
comes to something when I sit in the middle of my little Higginson Park in sunny little Marlow with all the little kids on the swings, and then there's a load of tractors driving straight through the town.
Yeah.
With our MP commenting on the news tonight, Joy Morrissey, good on her, on the side of the farmers, but that's just
those farmers aren't even being affected by the change in inheritance tax.
Yeah,
they're not the millionaires.
Why are they protesting then, Paul?
Because they don't like the Labour government.
They
want to cause trouble.
Absolutely nonsense. There's a massive
militant unions. You're not supposed to support them.
There's a massive story out at 10 o'clock. We'll be breaking it on this show tonight, and the journalists will be here revealing all the details about the farming situation with the government. That's absolute nonsense. As if they'd be traipsing down to London with their tractors if they had nothing to worry about.
Labour. I remember coming there and complaining.
They rarely take time off work, farmers. They only do it for a reason.
Yeah.
Skins enough as it is. I think
they're worried about how they bequeath their farm.
But they're not the ones affected. The ones on the streets blockading our supermarkets are not the ones affected by the policy change.
The whole point of this is half the battle is won if you've got a dose of optimism. You're buoyant, you're hopeful, you can instil some confidence into the country. I'm not a massive fan of Boris Johnson. He did that well. Tony Blair, I'm certainly no fan of him. He's the bad smell that doesn't go away. He did that very well.
Yeah. That's fair point.
Things can only get better. So there we go.